life's too short. Live it to your fullest. Like, I know it sounds cliche, however, just be courageous. Be that woman who steps up, takes that first step, because when you do that, there's other people around you that you give the permission to do that for themselves as well.
Today's guest is Chandni Arora, certified international mindset coach, master NLP practitioner, hypnosis practitioner, and emotional change expert. She is the founder of Inner Calling Coaching and the creator of the Inner Recode method, which helps women release suppressed emotions, rewire limiting beliefs, and connect with their self-worth from the inside out. After 19 years corporate career and holding postgraduate degrees in commerce and in major in information technology, Chandni now dedicates her life to helping women create emotional freedom, confidence, and clarity. She is also a proud mum of two and happily married, living in Sunshine Coast, where she leads by example, showing women that they can have both success and fulfillment. Welcome, Chandni.
Thank you, Anita. That was a great intro. I love hearing when someone else introduces you because it just makes you realize, wow, okay, this is actually me, because you forget sometimes.
Absolutely, that's right. We do in the midst of life. We're so busy and caught up, and it's nice to pause and, is that me?
I know. And it always
Absolutely.
surprises me, and I'm just like, that is me.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, with that said, what is one of the most courageous things that you have done?
Ooh, if I had to say the most courageous thing would be quitting my 9 to 5 corporate career after 19 years and jumping straight into coaching full time after knowing nothing other than the corporate world.
Wow. So, tell me more about that. What inspired you to transition from a 19-year corporate career? Because let's face it, that's security.
Yeah.
You know what's what. And coaching sometimes can be the unknown, but it's great. Hey, I'm a coach.
Yeah,
I love it.
that's what I do. What I do. And so if I had to, so much to pack in there, but let's go back basically. So
Mhm.
I lost my mom when I was 14. And, I didn't realize what an impact that had on me at the time, because when I actually lost her, I basically suppressed all of my grief, pushed it down, did a little bit of the crying and the processing, and then put on my armor of strength and went, I can deal with this. Because I was the eldest sibling, I felt like I had to be the strong one for my siblings. And then, I saw my dad break down, and I was just like, okay, everyone's breaking down. I have to hold it together and I have to push through this. So, long story short, I pushed it all down, came, and I was basically born in India. So, I left India and came to study in Australia when I was 18. And through the whole journey, I met my husband. We decided to have kids. And only after having kids did I realize how much the loss of my mom had impacted me and how much I hadn't dealt with, because being a mom without a mom was just a whole other level of emotional baggage that I didn't realize I needed to release. And after having my kids, I just couldn't hold it in anymore. I couldn't hold in the grief. There was tears almost every night, and I would hide in the shower because I didn't want my kids to see me crying and upset. And I would hide under doona, and I would just go, is this it? Like, why do I feel so sad? What's going on? And through all of that, obviously, I was still dealing with my corporate career, going to work every day, having to pretend to have it all together. And, you know, every day I went in there and left going, this doesn't feel aligned anymore. I'm not that version of the person I was before I had kids to after I had kids. So my identity had completely shifted. However, the work hadn't changed. And, there was a lot of support in the workplace in terms of career coaching. However, there was no all of life coaching as a human in terms of what else is happening for you outside of work. Are you able to still function as a human being, which you're required to do regardless of what is going on outside of work for you? So I would sit there and question every day. And then I was just like, okay, this is it. It's fine. I'm just going to keep showing up. It has to get better. And then one night while I was feeding my son, 2 a.m. in the morning, and doom scrolling as you do on your phone. And I'm just like, oh, what is this? And then I came across coaching communities and coaching. And I was just like, okay, this kind of piques my interest. And I went down rabbit holes and started stalking a few coaching companies and a few coaches. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to start working with a coach. So I worked a little bit with the coach and then decided to get my certification. And Anita, the way I felt after that coaching session or those coaching sessions and the experience I had as a certified life coach was liberated. I felt
Mm.
happy. I felt content. I felt relaxed. I felt positive, which I hadn't felt in such a long time. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the work I want to do. This is what I want to do for other women. Because I knew so many other women going through exactly what I was going through as well. And I was just like, no, this is what I want to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. But then the universe sort of gave me a little nudge, and there was a redundancy offer on the table for me. So I was just like, okay, I don't know, like, obviously there was like, oh, do I want to do this? What is going on? This is massive. It's a huge change. Anyway, I finally got my head around it after all of the emotions that came with that, and then decided, yep, okay, I'm going to go through with the redundancy. So I negotiated my redundancy payout, which was basically a little bit of buffer to then help me start, or not start, because I was already coaching on the side, but jump into my coaching business full time after that. So that was, in a nutshell, everything that happened to make me go from 9 to 5 corporate 19 years to that's it, I'm done. I'm just going to be a coach and a mom now.
Wow. Firstly, I'd say sorry for your loss to your mum.
Thank
And
you.
like,
Yeah.
what a roller coaster. What a roller coaster. Absolutely. And the thing is, like, have you noticed when you start thinking about things like you started coaching, the redundancy came, all the stars start aligning for you?
It's crazy how that happens, right? Because when you just go, okay, I'm just putting it out in the universe. This is what I want. I'm not aligned with what I am right now. I need something else. What that something else was and how I was going to do it, I had no idea when it actually started happening. And then when it all came together, I still had my oh shit moments in terms of, am I actually doing this? Am I going to take the leap? Am I going to jump into this? And I did it. And I don't think I could ever look back now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Once you're transformed.
Absolutely. And through the coaching as well, like I mentioned with the grief of my mom and how I just carried that for so long,
Mm.
I didn't even realize I was actually carrying that emotional baggage and that grief with me till I went through my own coaching process and through my own healing journey and through my own releasing of my emotions and my beliefs and everything else that you carry with you as a woman and a human as in general. So, yep.
Ab- Absolutely. That's what we do until, it hits us. We're on kind of an autopilot. We just get on with it, get on with it, get on with it until something happens. This isn't working. And that's when we realize. And absolutely, that's a pure example.
Yeah.
And I'm so pleased you did go ahead. And it takes a lot of courage to create that life you want. Absolutely. And that goes nicely into my next question, because you are the creator of Inner Recode method. Tell me
Yep.
more about that, please.
So the inner recode method is my signature coaching process. So when I started coaching, I did the life coaching, then I added mindset coaching, and I added neuro linguistic programming and the emotional change technique. And I decided to become like a therapeutic hypnosis practitioner as well. And because of all these different modalities I had, I was just like, how do I combine all of it into one? So I have used all of the experience that I've gained and the certifications and information and pushed it in, not pushed it, packed it into my inner recode method coaching process. And basically, what this process does is works with every woman on a subconscious level, because the conscious mind is like just the tip of the iceberg, whereas the
Mm.
subconscious mind is where 90% of all the work and the processing happens. So that's where I work as part of my inner recode method. I work with the subconscious mind to help women release their suppressed negative emotions, to help them identify their limiting beliefs and work through them. And like talking about courage, that is the courageous step, right? Is to become aware of it, to release it, and then to also work with what are my limiting beliefs and how can I overcome this in spite of the fear and move forward with the courage.
We've got to be able to do that for
Mm.
to have a fulfilling life. We've got to address some of the things that we have been through, but not live in the past. You've got to move forward with it. Leave the past in the past and let's create from new. Absolutely.
So
Well,
I've got this little thing that I do with my clients where in my first session with them, we basically just, unpack everything, all of the things that have happened, the trauma, the victim mentality, the whatever's keeping them stuck. And I was like, great, I know all of this. Now we're going to put a stop sign. And that means I don't want to talk about that anymore. We're only
yes,
going to move forward from here on in, because yes, that's happened. And yes, that's going to shape you. However, it doesn't have to define you moving forward anymore.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah, because as human beings, we can really go on about things and the past, and it was like this and it was like that, and oh no, I'm the victim. No, they really did that to me. Stop.
Yeah, and it did happen. Yes, that
Yes,
is your
absolutely.
reality. And that's what you live to through
Yeah,
100%. However, do you need to keep living it every single day moving forward? No, you do not. That's happened to you in the past. Now, what
yeah.
is your future going to be? Do you still want to carry those same stories and the same trauma with you every day, day after day? No, no one wants to do that, because it doesn't work. It doesn't leave you in that space of calm, content, positive, happy, like high vibe energy.
Absolutely. And not only that, it's the stories we create, and sometimes they're the stories we've created in our own head. They're not even true.
100%. 100%. And it just reminds me of something that I've heard in the past where 90% of the fears and the problems are made up. They're not even real. There's just something we make up and pretend it's real. So I do actually work with this as well in terms of what is the evidence backing this up? Is this
Mm.
really a problem, or are you making this a problem?
I love that. That's really brilliant. So, what are
Mm.
some of the most common limiting beliefs that you see that are holding women back? And is it
So
just women you work with?
it is just, I shouldn't say it is just women. I
Mm.
have worked with men in the past. However, I predominantly work with women because of my lived experience and the things that I've been through. And it's just when women basically rise, I feel like everyone rises along with them in
Mm.
terms of family, kids, even partners tend to rise for some reason. I don't know why that happens, but men kind of just follow along too in a lovely, holistic way. So, yes, I do love working predominantly with women. And if I had to think of the biggest limiting beliefs, I would say, is I'm not enough.
Mm,
Yep. I can't have it all. Yes, you can.
mm,
And also, it's selfish to put myself first because
mm,
women are just always, especially as mums, going, oh, what do I give to my kids? How can I be there for my husband? How can I basically fill everyone else's cup? And then when it comes to doing something for themselves and investing in themselves, they never do that.
mm.
And it takes such a long time for them to get over the actually being selfish is a good thing because when you're selfish about your needs and your requirements and your wants, you are just going to be so much more positive and be that person that can fill everyone else's cups even more. And it's just that ripple effect that you create as well.
Absolutely. And we've got to start with ourselves first. And like you
Mm.
said, you've got to fill your own cup because what can you give if you're on the back burner?
Mm.
And this is where a lot of burnout comes and a lot of other things. You really have to start with yourself and then your family, your community, and then it goes outwards to the world. But you really must start with yourself. That's very important. And thank you for making that point, Chandni.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I work with women, I think that would be the key one. It'd be like, oh, but I feel so guilty about putting myself first. And I feel like guilt is the most useless emotion anyone can ever have. It serves no purpose whatsoever. It is doing nothing for you. So if I can like tell any woman that's listening to this, just if you're ever feeling guilty, think of it as a useless emotion and just discard it and move on.
Absolutely. And tell me more about how releasing suppressed emotions change people's lives with relationships, confidence, and success. Because that's the thing you've got to do. So tell me more about that, please.
Yeah, so I mean, if I think of the top few emotions, it's like, grief, anger, guilt,
Mm,
sadness. These are all of the negative emotions that we carry with us. And as you keep pushing it down, it just starts getting heavier. And I like to think of it as, a bag where you just keep filling it in with all these negative emotions. And as you keep filling that bag up, it keeps getting heavier and heavier and heavier, which means it actually slows you down and it just stops you from moving forward. And
mm,
eventually you just stop and get stuck. So, as you start to release these unprocessed negative emotions, ones that are not serving you anymore, ones that have no purpose being in your life anymore, that bag basically starts getting lighter and you're not stuck anymore. And that helps you to then move forward with more ease, with lightness, with happiness, with joy. So if I had to, as a concept, that is the easiest way I can explain it. And what that looks like for each person is different. However, the feeling of that lightness, that happiness, that positivity is always the same across everyone. And that's when you start
absolutely.
feeling totally free and empowered to actually make the right decisions for you and that are in alignment with your life.
And that's right. Because here's the thing I'd just like to add to what you're saying.
Mm.
Somewhere along the line, the bag is going to burst as well, the more you put into it.
Yes, this is true. And it's going to start like ripping at the seams, and who knows where that goes. Let's not even go there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to a woman who feels stuck and discontent for themselves?
I think it would be around look at yourself. Where are you not recognizing what your needs and what your requirements are? And that's not in the passing moment. It's actually sit with it, feel uncomfortable with it, really, really drop into your body. And I don't know if people actually know what that means. It means not overthinking it in your head, actually like dropping into your body and feeling where your body feels stiff. Like, what is it in you that is holding you back? Because the answer's there. You're just not ready to listen to it. And if this is something you can't do for yourself, reach out to someone and have that conversation. And I know you would do this as a coach, and I know there's multiple other coaches and mentors that you could literally reach out to have a free clarity call session to see what it is that is holding you back and that you need, and how a coach can help you, or a mentor, or a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, whoever it is that you feel comfortable to reach out to help you with that. So if you're feeling stuck, it's all about figuring out what's going on inside of you, because it is never ever what is happening in the external world, because your external world is a reflection of your internal world. So really look inwards, figure out what that thing is, and then reach out to someone to get the help you need where you're feeling stuck.
Yes, and can you just slightly unpack that a little bit more, please? Because empowering starts from the within, it's inside of
Mm.
us. What does that truly mean for anybody that's listening that doesn't actually understand that?
I'm going to explain a little an NLP concept, which is neuro linguistic programming, which is perception is projection. So basically, what is going on inside of you is going to be projected outwards, and you're going to get a response because of everything that is going on inside of you. So think of two people driving a car, basically. Both people in the same traffic, stuck in the same situation, same everything. One person gets to the end of it, has to get out and get to work, and is in a grumpy mood because they've yelled at everyone, had road rage, done all of the things. However, the second person gets out feeling great, happy, because they went, okay, I'm stuck. Now what do I do? I'll put on a great podcast, put on some uplifting music. How can I make myself feel great? So you are creating that internal environment for yourself. And then when you get out, someone comes up to you and has a conversation and you're snappy. What's the response you're going to get back? Snappiness, grumpiness. However, if the second person comes out and someone talks to them, just like, hey, it's been a great day. I'm still, good to go. I'm a bit late. I know I got stuck in traffic, but let's still keep carrying on with the day. They're going to get a more positive response back. So whatever is going on internally is always going to get reflected back at you externally. So that is the whole perception is projection concept.
Absolutely. That's really great. And I
Hmm.
love your analogy there because I can visualize it clearly.
Because it happens every day, and it's not something that, like, and you just see two people in the same
Mhm.
situation, and one person just somehow seems to deal better with it than someone else, and it's not because of the external environment, it's because of the internal environment they've created for themselves.
That's absolutely fantastic. Yes. What are some of the daily practices or mindset shifts that help your clients sustain their growth?
So I always ask anyone that works with me to have something called a gratitude journal and a compliments journal. And a gratitude journal is waking up every day and writing 10 things that you are grateful for on that day. And I also challenge the women I work with, and it can't be the same 10 things from the day before. It has to be 10 different things for at least 30 days. You have to focus on 10 different things, and you cannot repeat them like over the next 30 days. So those are that's like 300 things that you're grateful for. Am I doing my maths right? Yes, I am. That you're grateful for in a month. And once you start actually noticing those little things, you just realize how much positivity you have in your life, because as humans we're just wired to like focus on the negative and we forget to focus on the positive. So this is basically training your brain to then start focusing on all the positives. And I love getting my clients to write a compliments journal, which is if someone gives you a compliment, write it down, because on the days you're feeling down and grumpy and out, that's your evidence of how great you've been, how appreciative other people are for you. So that's basically a validation for yourself going, actually, it's not all that. because I've just had all of these amazing things happen and all these people compliment me. So, and it's also training your brain to then look for the compliments, right? Because sometimes when someone says, "Oh, you've got, beautiful shoes," you're just like, "Ah, thank you." You're like, just write that down. That's a compliment. Why not? Or you've got a great smile. People just like get all weird about it and shy away from it, and it's like, take it, write it down, and then refer to it on the days you're not feeling great. The other thing I ask them to do as well is, in the morning when you wake up, you're just like, "Oh, I've got 300 things on my list to do. I've got to do this, and have to do this, and I have to do, I have to make the kids lunches. I have to drive them to school. I have to make the bed." It's about reframing and go, I get to do this. I get to get up in the morning. I get to drive them to school. I get to make them lunches. How blessed am I that I have food that I can give my kids that is nourishing and nutritious? So that's another reframe of the brain where you go, I get to. And I think the third thing I would tell them to do is, every morning, if you wake up going, "Oh, I can't do this," always reframe with, how can I? How can I do this? Because the brain is wired to provide you with solutions. So as soon as you ask the how can I, your brain's going to go, how can I do this? I need to give you an answer. I need to provide you with that. And that's like all of the subconscious mind that does this for you without you even realizing, but that's how it's working. So if I had to give 3 tips, those are the 3 tips I would give. And a lot of it is around language. So it just supports your growth instead of your limitations, basically.
And the possibilities are endless. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I really love the fact that you said, how weird do we get when we get a compliment? Overthinking it. Oh, do they want something from me? Oh, is that really true? Are they just trying to be nice to me? How often does that happen? Just accept it and own it. Yeah, that's
Oh,
great. Thank you very much.
100%. Yes. And the thing is, I didn't do that very well at all in the past either. Like, I was that person. I'd be like, "Oh, thanks," and try and this move on. And someone says, "Oh, you got a nice top," I'll be like, "Oh, thanks, I got it from here," and just like go into a story rather than just going, "Thank you," and just sitting with it. Because that's all you need to do, just receive and accept it.
I can't echo that enough. So, burning question, how do you balance running a successful business and being a mum and creating the freedom of your life?
So when I quit my corporate, it was quite rigid, the structure. I was going to work, coming back, working 12-hour days sometimes with the 2 kids, and there were school pickups, and they were in after school care and all of the things. And after I quit corporate, I was just like, that was one of the biggest reasons I did it as well, was to have more time and to have more freedom and to have more flexibility with my kids. And now my business is basically designed to fit around what I want to do with my kids and the people I want to spend most time with, including my husband and, really close friends. So I work only school hours, or like we're doing this interview at like 8 o'clock in the evening for me. The kids are done with their dinner, they're done with their bath, they're done with so my husband's going to tuck them into bed. And I know I've done all of those things, and I'm going to give them a quick kiss goodnight before they're in for the night. However, so I design all of my work and business around the things that matter to me most, which is my kids right now. And I just build my business around that.
Absolutely fantastic. And it gives us the freedom. And I can
Mm.
really hear that in what you're saying. You've got the freedom to choose.
And not to rub it in, however, this year we've and
Why
I
not? This is where you're holding back.
yeah.
We
Oh,
want to hear it.
so we've been on 2 overseas holidays, and we're going on a third one at the end of the year. And this is something I couldn't have even imagined doing as part of my corporate job, going on 3 overseas holidays and taking like over 2 months off just to travel with the kids and the family, and creating that life of freedom, because I love traveling. It's something I've loved my whole life, and it's something I want my kids to experience as well. So this is something we've sort of just built into our lives as well, where I don't have to now take permission and time off and like, request a leave. I'm just like, there's a flight, it's cheap, those dates work for us, let's go.
So beautiful. That is
Yeah.
so beautiful. So, Chandni, what's next for you and Inner Calling Coaching in 2026? We're nearly coming to the end of this year.
I know it's not the end yet, though. So, for me, what I have predominantly been focusing on since I started my coaching business has been one on one coaching. So, in 2026, I'm looking to start group coaching programs, and I don't know what that's going to look like yet. However, that's the plan. So that's what I'm working on. And I'm also running my free masterclass for the first time ever, which is going to be a group session on the 27th of November. And it's all around boundary setting, which is called No is a Full Sentence. And I am
Fantastic.
actually, yeah, working on putting that together to sort of put the feelers out in terms of how do I feel about group coaching and then venture out into that in 2026, as well as obviously one on one for my high ticket clients.
I can really hear your passion in that.
Hmm,
Really.
I'm excited. I am.
So, what is one of the most important lessons you've learnt over your life so far?
Stop taking it so seriously. Just
Mm,
let it all go because life is meant to be fun and there is no point in carrying this heavy bag around with you with all of the crap that you feel like you need to carry. Just chuck it out, move forward, and you will just feel so much lighter and happier. And I know these are just words that are just coming out of my mouth. However, I have experienced it. I have seen multiple women transition and transform into these humans that they didn't even think they could be. And that's the reason I just love the work I do, not because of what I do, but because of the impact and the transformation that I see in these women that I work with.
that's amazing. Absolutely
Hmm.
amazing. If there was one key takeaway you want every listener to walk away with today, what would that be?
Life's too short. Live it to your fullest. Like, I know it sounds cliche, however, you know, just be courageous. Be that woman who steps up, takes that first step, because when you do that, there's other people around you that you give the permission to do that for themselves as well. And this is how the ripple effect starts and gets created because your kids see what you're doing. They get the permission from you to then live their life to their fullest and do the things that are aligned with them and their dreams. And also, this creates, you don't know who else is watching. So you're just giving other women permission to do this as well and create that ripple effect amongst their communities and their families, like you mentioned earlier as well.
And the thing is, it's leading by example, and that
Mm,
is a perfect example.
yes, 100%.
Where can the listeners find you online? What's your website, Chandni?
So my website is www.innercallingcoaching.com. And I'm also active on Instagram, and my handle is at Inner Calling Coaching. And you can find me on LinkedIn under Chandni Arora, and you can also find me on Facebook under Inner Calling Coaching.
Thank you for sharing your insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today. And by doing so, you have helped so many others make a difference. I really want to acknowledge you for that, Chandni Arora.
Thank you, Anita, and thank you so much for having me and helping me also spread the word to create the impact that I know you and I both want to create in this world. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, my absolute pleasure. So, with that said, we are all about Create the Courage to be Fearless podcast here. What is your definition of courage?
Ooh, my definition of courage would be feel the fear and move forward in spite of it, because that is courageous. It's courage is the times in the quiet moments when you decide to stop hiding behind the person that you think you should be and actually start being and honoring the person you actually are.